Up next is a session you wouldn't want to miss. Ready for Global Conquest, Top 10 of DGEMS 2024.
Thank you so much for setting the context so beautifully, Ashba. We are right now amidst a very interesting global landscape. We have global challenges and opportunities both at the same time. We are looking at a poly crisis on one side, supply management disruptions, global regulations, compliance on one side, and on the other is tech adoption, flourishing domestic markets, companies looking at capacity building, capability building, and achieving that scale with mergers and acquisitions and global expansion, so to say. Fascinating time to work in and grow in, and I'm sure it's a great time for leaders like you sitting here, and also for everybody who's here and looking at them and their stories, and hoping to learn, and as Devesh said, collaborate and learn from each other's experience. So let me start by talking about your company's journey and navigating through these very interesting times, and you've done phenomenally well being on the list and with all the work that you have done. So Vikram, if I may start with you, Epsilon Advanced Materials is at the forefront of material innovation. What have been the key moments in your journey that has helped you position yourself amongst the top 10?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us here. Yeah, so I started Epsilon Advanced Materials about 6 years ago with a focus on battery materials. I would say we were one of the only companies in India that were very bullish on this space. There was not so much awareness about EV transition or cells, and it was very China-centric then. Since then, we've been building our team up, building our tech up. We have more than 25 patents now, and we have, I would say, the only customer qualification plant outside China, which we have in Karnataka. And now it's a long journey of qualification and dealing with cell customers. It takes anywhere from 4 to 6 years to qualify with a customer. And then you have an opportunity to become a really large supplier in this space. And to do that, we are building a large facility in Karnataka, another facility in Finland with a sovereign wealth fund from Finland, and another facility in the US, in North Carolina. Along the way, we have done another acquisition in Germany for cathode technology. And our focus really is how to develop these sustainable battery materials, to really see where cell technology is going, work closely with partners. And there are really good opportunities to collaborate with startups and other companies in this space as this ecosystem develops in India. So we're very excited about this space.
Make it sound so easy. But tell me, what were the major challenges while you were doing all these expansions?
Yeah, so, I think the biggest challenge was that when we talk to customers, and the main customers are Korean and Japanese, other than Chinese, the first impression is, look, India doesn't do this, right? And that's a little tough to hear because we believe in it. But the first challenge is, no, these things, battery materials don't come out of India. India is good at tech, India is good at auto. And then it takes time to really break down and get into it. Also, funding is a huge challenge. It's a long gestation industry. You have to keep building capacity, you have to keep expanding, and you don't see cash flow for a long time. And then obviously when you build the large plant, you have very good cash flows. It's also very technology-centric, right? You want to create battery materials which lead to car charging in 10 minutes, gives a car a range of 500 kilometers. So these are the areas where we innovate as battery material companies, and then cell and auto companies further benefit. So it's a long gestation industry, but it's just evolving globally, and there are a lot of opportunities in India and globally for companies in this space.
Wonderful, great note to start our panel with. Because significant strides in the precious metals market. It is, again, a very niche market, so to say. What has the journey been like? And if you could take us through both the challenges and how they were overcome.
Certainly. So once again, thank you, Mugdha, for having us on this panel and being a part of the DGEMS selection, shortlist. I think the space that MMTC-PAMP represents, I'm sure everyone in the audience will have a point of view on it, so it should be easy for you all to relate to. But before I go there, a very quick small update on us. India consumes about ballpark 800 tons of gold a year and silver alongside. Whatever I say for gold applies to silver. And MMTC-PAMP caters to almost about 10 to 15% of that consumption. We are India's only LBMA accredited refinery, London Bullion Market Association. So that's the highest accreditation that you have in this space, which makes our metal globally tradable. Because by and large, if you wish to buy and sell across the world, then you need one accreditation, and that's what LBMA stands for. It also stands for the highest levels of ethics, governance, transparency, regulation, etc., and also from a product point of view, which means product craftsmanship, product purity. So from a customer point of view, therefore, our attempt has been to always communicate what is the extra that our product would give to them as an option as compared to any other industry option that they would have. Now, the journey in this industry is a little different as compared to a standard, possibly consumer or a B2B operation. The values involved here are incredibly high. So when you talk about 100 tons of gold, ballpark, say, let's just say 10 tons of gold a month, you're talking about $1 billion odd every month that you're transacting. And the financial elements of a business of this nature then take on, a completely different connotation. So the last 5 years in particular have been extremely volatile. And Mugdha, I think that's the journey that has been, really an eye-opener for many of us, because we've never seen volatility of this type in this space. So pre-COVID, the price of gold would vary, we talk about dollars per ounce, maybe about $2 or $3 per day, which was not really very much. Today, the price of gold can vary almost by $100, $120 an ounce, which means people will just stop buying and they will say that, okay, let's wait it out and let's see what's going to happen. So you had COVID in 20, you had Delta in 21, you had Ukraine in 22, you had the banking collapse in 23, you had Gaza in 24, you got Iran, Israel now. So geopolitics is something which is Fed, of course, how can I forget the Fed? You would know that. So, will they take the rates up? Will they take the rates down? I think building a proposition in this environment takes on a slightly different connotation. And therefore, you need to plan for volatility. You need to ensure your cash flows are robust. You need to ensure that your entire customer proposition is well understood. And you have good turnover rates in terms of inventory and product, which ensures that you're a profitable business. You get even one of these metrics wrong, then literally, God bless you. One last piece, Mugdha, is to your point on the global borders. The volatility also is an opportunity in a way. So if you have a movement in the price in India, there could be a positive arbitrage in Turkey, there could be a positive arbitrage in London, New York, as the case may be. So if you're able to plan for this and ensure that you're able to tap these opportunities, then not only do you win as an organization, but you also win as a national exchequer. So we engage a lot with the government, and our conversation all through is that how can we contribute to the exchequer, and therefore from a policy point of view, how do we build this journey together? So that's really what this space is all about.
As you mentioned, one man's crisis is another man's opportunity, and that is what we've been seeing at the global landscape with the poly crisis on one side. There still has been a lot of movement in India, whether it was the domestic economy or stakeholders looking at expanding their business. Dinagar, if I may get you in, we're talking about AI transforming so many industries, and a NASSCOM report recently said that 90% of new businesses and old businesses are only interested in getting their AI, Gen AI strategy right. There is tech adoption. The tech adoption is coming at a cost. There are regulatory compliance issues. There is, of course, data privacy, etc. Amidst all this, you have navigated to be amongst the top 10 people who have been enlisted. What have been the major learnings of the last perhaps 2 years? As I was discussing with you earlier, I never ask a question which goes beyond 2 years because it's very, very dynamic. So last year and now that you are here addressing everyone, what have been the major learnings?
Sure. First of all, thanks for Forbes DGEMS to pick us on this list. It's an honor, and thanks for the time. Is it okay? Okay.
Yes.
It's an honor being here on the list, and thanks for the question. So we are an AI chip and software company. Just like NVIDIA is focused on the cloud, we're focused on the edge, including video surveillance. Anywhere there's a camera, our chips are the brain behind the camera doing real-time analytics. Also, automotive is a major market for us. AI is, like you said, coming to all various use cases. And if you measure AI by data, the amount of data that's in the cloud versus out in all of these edge use cases, it's about 1 million times larger. Wow. So that's where we're focused, and the opportunity is that much bigger as well. And it's at the same time, it's also neglected, as in all the big guys are focused on the data center and they've left the edge. And we see tremendous opportunity there. In fact, practical AI, right? How do you apply it to agriculture, healthcare, education, manufacturing, smart cities, right? All of these are markets that we're focused on. And to your point, some of the concerns around data privacy, et cetera, are actually beneficial for us, because they don't want to send everything back to the cloud. They want to do AI at the edge, on-prem, and so on. Yeah. And this is where our processors, our software comes into being. The last couple of years, learnings, I guess, are very similar to what my fellow panelists have seen. It's a combination of lots of ups and downs with every business and startups. How do you continue building what you're setting out to do and doing it day after day, right? That's the big thing, I guess. Funding challenges, market challenges, geopolitical challenges. I think all these are something common to our industry as well.
Mm-hmm. In round two, Dinakar, I would want you to again start, because we have just heard you. In the round two of the panel, I would want your insights into what is happening in the industry, from trends point of view and from challenges point of view for everyone who's sitting in this room. Are there some similar pitfalls that you see? Are there some similar problems that you see companies facing? And what, in your opinion, should be the way out for them? Has there been a trend in also addressing those challenges? Because one company makes that error, and we see similar errors generating. So to say that today, if we have multi-stakeholders sitting here, how can they come together as a cohort, as collaborators, and work together? And also, what are some of the problems that you are trying to see that can be fixed?
Sure. So let me start with maybe the problems and the opportunities, right? Wherever there's a problem, there's an opportunity. Okay. That's the good part. So AI coming to all industries, right? If you look at the big and small companies, almost every company is, the CEO has announced, hey, we're an AI first company, or we're having AI in the company. And when you look underneath, there's probably like a small, I'm not talking about the Google, Facebooks, talking about the rest of the world. They have a small, tiny 4 or 5 member AI team, right? And the whole company is trying to become AI. So that's a big challenge. So, and the opportunity there is, hey, how do you actually make that journey easy for the company, right? In terms of software tooling, in terms of compute, chips, etc. And that's the opportunity that we see. Coming to the group, of course, a lot of founders and different startups here, potentially collaborating on different parts of the ecosystem to make this all happen for small, medium enterprises, I think is a big opportunity, especially in India. So I see those kind of opportunities here.
Great. Because trust and transparency are very critical in international markets. And Vikram also said that, that trust also comes when they see your work. Otherwise, a lot of your co-collaborators were like, this is coming from India. How do we know that we can work as seamlessly or smoothly with you as we work with other global partners? So trust becomes crucial, and companies build on that credibility by navigating through complex regulations and compliances as well. Where do you think new businesses that are trying to scale in offshore markets are struggling with that compliance bit?
Yeah, so absolutely, Mugdha, and especially in our space, which is ultra high value, and it's extremely important, firstly, from a first principles point of view, to be able to define what you stand for, give the options to your customers or your consumers, as the case may be. And should there be a concern, then it is incredibly important for you to be able to address it, at the earliest. Now, in a way, the government is also your stakeholder. So all of this applies backwards all the way there. So if you're breaching trust at any point, then, to a large extent, you kind of, I'd say, lost the plot in this particular space. So the way we define it is, in our space, is guarantees. We are guaranteeing that whatever we are giving out, it's normally more than what we state. So for example, if we say the purity is 99.99% of gold, the guarantee is it's actually 99.993 plus, and it's not less. Similarly, if the weight is 10 grams, it'll be 10.003, but it'll never be less. Every touch point also has to be able to echo this vision of yours. So, so in a way at MMTC-PAMP, our vision is to try and build the most trusted precious metals ecosystem, which means that you have to go beyond physical into digital. With digital, what also happens is you're now talking about micro investors. So for example, we have a product called digital gold and silver. Interestingly, the ticket size per purchase is sub 1,000 rupees. So when people have some cash in the pocket, they immediately wish to buy, keep it, you save yourself a lot of, it's a very efficient way of transacting, you save yourself a lot of frill expenses like making charges, etc. But the trust piece comes in again that if I want to take delivery or if I want to sell, etc., you should be able to deliver immediately. It has to be like almost on a real-time basis. It's a moving target. It's not an easy one. And when you talk cross-border, where, again, building the brand and building awareness is what is a very, 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 or a not so easy responsibility, you need to be extra careful about it. So the way we define it is we'd like to expand cross-border in small chunks.
Right.
You don't want to go all over the place and really spread yourself too thin. You want to be focused in terms of what that product strategy or what that geography strategy is and ensure you're delivering beyond expectations. So it's a long conversation, but it's not an easy one.
Global supply chain for materials requires so much when in innovation. And in the business landscape, we very loosely use the word resilience and agility. And it may actually mean very different things to different people. What, for your industry, does innovation, resilience, and agility mean then? And what are the crisis points that happen, especially because there is when there is a polycrisis of sorts, when there is so much happening that is beyond your control, you have your risk assessments or your risk mitigation along with your expansion plans. But what goes wrong usually which is not in your control for the audience, if we can look at a wider sort of landscape?
Yeah, so when we look at this business, we look at this really as a generational opportunity, right? There's a whole new industry being developed. The auto industry took decades and decades to deliver, to mature globally. China's done a really good job when it comes to electric vehicles in the last 2 decades, and they're way, way ahead than what most people perceive. And one thing that's interesting is most people have maybe been affected by what we do. So, if you talk about a lot of the 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler fires that happened in India during a few summers ago, or Samsung phones had problems of little puffing up or even exploding. And that has all got to do with the wrong battery material in the cell. So, a customer took a shortcut, used the wrong graphite, used the wrong cathode, and made the cell. It worked, but obviously under extreme conditions, it caught fire. So this is where safety is very important.
Right.
And I want to go back to the point of how important the customer is, right? You cannot invent something in this space on your own and say, here's the next best thing, everybody should use this. You really have to collaborate with your customer and go back and forth. It's a long iterative process, and the customer feedback is the most important step to move ahead. So this journey has taken us 5 years and it'll take us another 3-4 years to build these plants out and commercialize at 30-50 gigawatt hour scale, which is required. But it's very, very important in this industry to work with your customers. It's also very, very important to keep innovating, right? So there's a space for everyone in this space who wants to do R&D, who wants to commercialize, who wants to do testing. So it's a whole new industry that's being developed and requires a lot of investment and time. When it comes to our business, and we've been in this for 6 years, funded it ourselves so far, and we look to build these facilities between India, Finland, and the US.
Right.
That's about a $2 billion investment we're going to make in the next 4 years. Right? And when we're looking at that investment, my board comes down very hard on me, and there's a lot of risk that we need to capture and debate over. But what's interesting is there's risk, but there's also opportunity. So we have to be very cautious how we tread ahead. And it's very important, like I said, you're working with the customer, your customer has to commit. Your customer has to commit that he will take what you make. So the way this industry has matured is you have 6-7 years of gestation, of cost, of capacity building, proving your technology, proving your performance, but then you get into very strong take-or-pay agreements. And that's the only way this industry will mature, because if you look at bankers, they don't want to fund these large capex projects with no visibility of who will take it. So I think keeping that little conservative look that you have to make sure your model is sustainable. I've seen quite a few companies in the last 2 years in the US enter the battery material space, been in it for 10 years, and gotten into bad agreements which don't lead to building facilities,
right.
And then they just had to wind down. So a lot of money has gone down that path. So, but again, a lot of good opportunities, and just have to be cautious how we tread.
Super. I'm going to come back to you on the customer understanding bit, but before I move, let me tell the audience that I'm going to open, we have about 8.5 minutes, so I'm going to open the floor for questions. I'm giving you 2-3 minutes to put your thoughts together, and if you have specific questions, we'll take it from the panel. The mics will come to you. So if you have any questions, you can just put them together. While I give them that time, I wanted to speak to you specifically about what you said about customer identification and how to have on board the customer and what they want. When we are talking about global markets, when we are talking about companies that are trying to scale in other markets and trying to look at a global arena, the so-called global conquest, it is very important to understand the differentiation between the customers in that geography. How important does then innovation become, as you said, specific to those geographical areas? Do you also feel that customers are increasingly aligned across geographies, or do you think that hyper-personalization, customization, localization still needs to be done when we are talking about products?
Yeah, no, great question, and I'll give a very practical example on this. If you look at the US market, you have General Motors over there who is very focused, wants to build 1 million EVs, and their partner is LG back in Korea. So General Motors today doesn't have the know-how of how to make these cells. So the gateway and our real customer is actually LG, because he tells you what needs to be done, and it all links back to what does the US market want. So US market wants a car that can charge in 10 minutes and go 500 miles. That's what the end consumer in the US wants. That's not necessarily what India wants. Right? So every customer is different, every market is different, and hence the technology and innovation has to link to that market. We make other products which are very centric to Indian energy storage market, and that's a great application in India. But when you look at just the US model, electrification is happening in the US, the gateway is really Korea, they are the ones validating you, and we are in India. So there's really a long chain of communication and data sharing and collaboration when you do that. But every market has a different application. It's important to understand it and then focus on that for that customer.
Wonderful. All right, 5 minutes left. Do we have questions? We can take a few. All right, the gentleman there, the lady there. Can we have the microphones there, please? All right, you can borrow mine. Do we have mics that can come to the floor? Yes, there are. All right, I've been told there are. May I please request you to just stand up and ask your question? I will have to stop. The mic has come. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Please.
So first is, how do you see AI implementation in the research and development space? Second is, you talk about customer commitment because we are building a lot of products which are not ready right now. So how do you ensure as a founder that your customer is dedicatedly committed toward buying your product in the future?
Could you just also identify yourself once again
Yeah.
and the company that you have started?
So this is Ashutosh Tiwari. I am co-founder and chief product officer at Laser Vision AI.
So AI is one of the, I would say, the brightest spots in our industry right now. Like I said earlier, it's a very iterative process, right? So again, I'll give you a practical example. You go to a battery material company in China, you'll have 10,000 engineers iteratively developing materials, making a cell, and trying to see what the data is. While I went to Carnegie Mellon a few weeks ago, and in the lab, they're using AI to cut like 1 million tests down to 10,000, which itself is cost, saving time. So AI is a great layer to build on top of battery material and cell development. And unfortunately, not happening enough in India as an application, but really happening a lot in the US. Your next question about customer commitment. In this industry, you have to prove yourself at a certain stage. So there's a lot of development happening at lab scale, which the customer appreciates. It can get you funding. But really, when you want to get into these take-or-pays, you have to have commercialized your technology to some scale. And that requires capital. So that's why there's a certain funding requirement to that stage. And after that, there's an opportunity to build larger plants.
The lady in black. Can we have the microphone here, please?
Hello everyone, I'm Shreya Charin and I'm representing Newton Global. We are a financial brokerage company and we're really happy to be here. And my question is to Mr. Vikas Singh, and we really resonated to the point that there are a lot of externalities, including geopolitical troubles in the market that affect the prices of commodities, especially gold. So we've been trading in the markets. We have had our own portfolio as well as we are looking into client portfolio. Now we are providing the technology for clients to trade. And what we are seeing is that a lot of clients put in money in the capital markets with a lot of expectations, not understanding these externalities, right? So they are not able to get out and, trade anymore. They are losing their confidence to invest in gold, and they are losing that sort of attitude to invest in anything at all. So that is a tipping point for most of the investors or traders that we see. So we would like to, as a company, we are looking into creating more transparency and a community of traders. So from you, I would like to get some advice regarding how better can we look at these externalities and manage them so that, customers and our investors keep investing and they get better benefits from the market. Thank you.
Great question.
So you're asking me a very loaded question.
I know.
Yeah, and all right, so I'll just try and answer it simply, and we can always take it offline separately. If one is trying to forecast where the prices are likely to go, I think that's a bit of a tall shot. So there are too many variables at play at this point in time. And then you have the usual perspective of, is it a short-term investment or a long-term investment? So listen, if you go down to fundamentals first, precious metals is what we call a finite commodity. There's only so much out there. There's supposed to be max about a couple of 100,000 tons of gold. And then there are also these huge conversations on sustainability. So which means you bring back the old gold in the market as against keep digging for more new gold and silver. So one needs to be mindful of all these variables. Geopolitics, the way it's moving, I guess most of the people in the audience would endorse the volatility is only going to be high, it's not going to come down. So it'll have to fall into a classical portfolio strategy in terms of you break it up into over time horizons, make your investments as per those time horizons and plan for it. More than that, it'll be difficult for me to say, but I'm sure the AI experts can help with some algos to help you navigate those storms. Yeah. Thanks.
All right, I'm afraid I can't take any more questions, but everybody is here, so you can take it offline. My clock is saying 3 seconds, but I'm going to give Devanakar the last word. Closing comments.
So AI is the answer. Pleasure being here and happy to chat offline. For the gentleman there as well, maybe I'll leave you with one example is that how do you actually land a customer early on, right? And commitment. We're also in automotive. And we've started off with really tiny, almost $20,000 POCs. So always try to find a customer who's actually willing to pay you for something. And then that grows into millions, which I'm sure you have similar things in automotive batteries. So I'd say that's the thing. But thank you.
Thank you so much for all the insights and for giving us your time. This was a wonderful panel. Thank you.
Thank you.